So the practices we're going to address this morning, they are all heating practices. They do all have the effect to raise blood pressure. So this is why they say untreated high blood pressure is what we have to be concerned about, because people who are untreated aren't being monitored so well. So this is why this practice, if that is an issue for you or a concern for you, you have to monitor it yourself. And my instruction is when we do strokes of something, so say it's 30 strokes, you do 1 stroke every 4 strokes. So it's going to be a slower practice, but it's still going to have the same benefits. It will just be much more subtle. So that's something for you to manage yourself. There are ways of testing your blood pressure yourself at home, little kits or watches you can get just to keep an eye, because blood pressure is not to be messed around with. It can cause lots of serious issues. But through the asana that we just did, mindful breath work, especially the Monday evening breath work we're going to do, you can start to manage it without taking medications, because it's, I wouldn't want to start taking medications, and I understand that. So these practices this morning, so Bhastrika breath that we're going to do, it's 1 stroke every 4. Be mindful, take as many rounds as you feel. With Kapalbhati, exactly the same. And then with Surya Bhedana, which is our in right, out left breath that we're going to do, again, the same. Monitor, because it's a heating breath. If you get too hot, take a pause. So this is where we're going. And then we're going to come into a yogic meditation that we did at the weekend. So this morning's session we'll take slowly, because I'm going to give instructions about how to do the breaths if you're unsure. And then we'll build up the practice. So if that sounds good. And then, so that the teaching portion of this will probably take, let's say, 30 minutes, leading us to the meditation. And then we're going to have a really nice long sit that is semi-guided and semi-not. Wonderful. So enough chatter, let's practice together. So sitting in your comfortable seated meditation posture, sense of ease across the pelvis and the same across the collarbones. So talking about our meditation postures, so in yoga, they ask that your soles of your feet be turned to the sky, if possible. So that's why we sit cross-legged or kneeling, but it's not necessary. Some people get really pious about this and say you have to, but you don't. The benefits are still happening in the body. But these are sort of ideal conditions, they would say. Wonderful. So I'm going to try not to speak too much. I've got a bit of a motor mouth on me this morning. I can't seem to shut up, but we'll come into these practices. So we're going to start with Bhastrika breath. So this is our bellows breath. So the bellows breath is a cleansing breath. We're going to be pumping the organs, pumping the diaphragm, pumping the chest, forcing air in and also out. So this will massage the organs. Also in yoga, we talk about Agni, the digestive fire. So whether you want to see this as a visualization of the sun or just the juices in the organs of the stomach, if you're more practical or more visual or romantic with your practice. So that's Bhastrika breath, and we'll learn the strokes together. So taking the hands onto the belly, this just helps us to feel, and it's just above the navel, so middle finger just above the navel. And we're going to take it nice and slow. So for those of you familiar with Kapalbhati breath, we simply force the air out. With Bhastrika, it's a forceful inhale and exhale. It takes me a little moment to get into it, so let me just try. So we're trying to perform 1 full yogic cycle of breath, which is in, belly, chest, sternum, chest, out, sternum, chest, sternum, belly. So it's in, up, out, down, in, up, out, down. So it's the up, down breath. So we'll take it nice and slow. Let's just practice together. And pause. So we're trying to force this breath just in and out of the nose, and you'll feel already, this is a simulated hyperventilation. You may get a little dizzy, so if that happens, just open your eyes Sit and breathe gently. And this breath we try to take at our maximum velocity. So I'll just show you mine. So this is my bellows breath, just to show you how it can look. That doesn't have to be yours. Take it at the speed that feels like you are fulfilling the full in and out breath. So we're going to do 5 rounds of 30 strokes. So that's 30 of my strokes. So you may only complete 8 or 9 strokes. So I'll do it at my speed and you do it at yours. Don't be tempted to speed up. You can keep your hands to your belly if it helps. If not, you place the hands to the thighs, heart lifted. And we're going to take the first round. We'll have nice long pauses in between just to feel the effects of the practice. So 30 strokes, inhale. And we all pause at the same time. So whether you've completed 6 strokes or 30, and we sit in the space we've opened up, and we want to start watching what happens in the body. So with this practice, because it can make you dizzy, the mind wants to exit, but bring it back to your slow breath in between rounds. You may feel the heat washing through your limbs, you may feel the body temperature rising. We'll take our second round, 30 strokes, inhale. And slow breathing, however many strokes you've completed. So I'm going to teach you a remedy if at any point you feel too dizzy or too lightheaded or you're too hot. If you can do a curl with your tongue, which not everyone can, and then breathe in and out of the tube you make with your tongue. If you can't make a tube with your tongue, which I know is a genetic predisposition, we smile, showing our teeth like a child having their photo taken. And we breathe through our teeth. So these are our cooling breaths, morning Zana. So you can curl your tongue. Not everyone can do this. Or we breathe through the teeth. So that's only when you need to cool down. So between rounds, if you need to land yourself, ground yourself, we have these 2 options. We'll take our third round of bellows breath. So it's 30 of my strokes, but you do 6 or 8 or 10, whatever's appropriate. Deep inhale. And then slow breathing, knowing you have the 2 cooling breaths if you need them. And again, if the mind is exiting the body and you're in this beautiful dreamy space, bring it back into this body so the dimensions of your body may shift and change. So as we're starting out on this journey with these practices, having a sense of playfulness, or you may be a more seasoned practitioner, but the same playfulness applies. You know, they say beginner's mind, best mind. So coming to it afresh, I try and do the same. And we'll take our 4th round. Deep inhale, as many strokes as you can in my 30 strokes. And slow breathing, just a reminder, the cooling breaths there for you when you need. And noticing anything that comes up, anything that happens. So we talked at the retreat about metabolizing emotion. Any emotion. This can be on the spectrum from joy all the way to anger and sadness. And just seeing if these things happen, they may not. I'm not trying to direct your practice, but just so you know, you sit and see if you can let the body absorb it, let it dissipate. And again, in my form, I've lost count. I think we have one more. Let's do a 5th round. Deep inhale. And slow breathing. So we'll have a slightly longer pause in after this set. See how the practice is landing, evolving, unfolding. So we do these practices much like we do asana to maintain the body, to help us clear out stale energy, keep the digestive fire burning, or to ramp up the fire, removing toxins from the organs. And this energy that we work to generate, we use that to power our meditation. So we'll be going into more detail about these ideas, or these practices and concepts and images. But for now, let's just explore what's physically going on in our bodies. And again, just noticing anything that comes up, and this may be resistance, so that not every practice is for every body, and I mean that in terms of physical body. Some things fit better, some things less well. So if you have aversion or attraction to a practice, that's just a signal, and we want to see what lies behind that, what's causing the aversion, what's causing the attraction. Because that's really where the interesting part of it lies. And ideally we want neither. We don't want to be really in love with the practice or really averse to the practice. We just want to have it in our bodies. So we're going to take a wander. I meant to do this at the beginning, through the inquiries. So starting physical body, any sensations now after Bhastrika breath. So this can be sensation, it can be a change in dimensions. Maybe the arms feel longer, the neck feel longer. Maybe tension has come into the muscles or bones, maybe released. Starting to look for more detail and depth to our sensation, to our felt experiences. And then we're going to check in with the quality of the mind. So where is it at right now? And then the breath, and this may be where you see the biggest shift. So often the breath feels like it's arrested, completely stopped. or the impulse to breathe has stopped. So this comes from oxygenating the blood. And this is actually the aim of pranayama. We want to get down to taking 1 breath or 2 breaths per minute. So this is like advanced yogi that lives in a cave. But just so you know that slowing the natural breathing cycle down is the goal. They say as the breath fluctuates, so the mind fluctuates, so the prana fluctuates. And we want to bring stillness so that the prana can rise and guide our meditation. And then stepping across to the energetic body. Sorry, I did say I have verbal diarrhea this morning. I can't stop speaking. Any sensations in the energetic body? Wonderful. So we're going to move on to our Kapalbhati breath, which most of us are familiar with. So this is the forceful expulsion of air. It's a passive inhale, forceful exhale. So if you work with visualizations, you know those bags of water used to get goldfish in at the fairs. If you imagine your tummy like that, so you press the air out and it falls like a sack of water. Press the air out and it falls. So most of us are familiar with this. Again, if you'd like to have your hands on your lower belly this time, so below the navel, you can do. And we're going to again do 5 rounds of 30 strokes. So I have my own pace. You pick your pace, so it can be as slow as especially if you suffer from mild hypertension or untreated high blood pressure, any clotting issues, then take it nice and slow. So heart is lifted, chin is dropped. So this is the cobra, ready to strike posture. I can't really do it with my arm, but that's the posture. We want to keep this in the body. And we'll take 5 round 30 strokes, remembering your own pace. Don't get carried away if it's not appropriate. Deep inhale. And slow breathing. Excuse me. And again, noticing what happens in the space between rounds. You'll notice I coughed. It's very good at clearing the lungs. So this also is a good practice if you suffer from asthma, not while you're having an asthma attack, but as in maintenance for all the bronchioles and the muscles involved in breathing. Again, a heating breath, slightly more focused on the lower belly. And feel free, you can walk through the levels of inquiry if you wish, just to see how does each round and how does it build through the 5 rounds. And we'll take our second. Deep inhale, your own pace. And slow breathing, excuse me. And we'll take our 3rd round. So heart lifted, chin gently tucked. Deep inhale. And slow breathing. Remembering you can leave any rounds out you need. This is your practice. Fourth round, heart is lifted, chin gently dropped. Deep inhale. And slow breathing. Any shift in the body. Then we'll take the final round. Deep inhale, heart lifted, chin gently dropped. And slow breathing, wonderful. So now we will walk through the inquiries, so checking in physical body. Excuse me, 5 rounds of Kapalbhati sitting in your body at this moment, dropping expectation, meeting it for the first time. And then the mind. And then the breath. And then the energetic body, whatever that means to you. Wonderful. So we're going to have a couple of minutes sitting here just to prepare and to experience. Often we race through practice giving ourselves time to register what is happening. So you may start to notice the kind of clearing in the awareness, that space that we're opening out, less invaded by the happenings of the body, the breath, the mind, the energy body. And this is what we're looking for. So this is just how I'm experiencing it. If it's not happening for you, honor what's coming up in your body. You may be getting agitated. It may be stirring things up. But this is what we're going for. So again, as I said, slowing the breath down, quietening the mind, resting in the open space of the physical body, so no physical limitations, stoking this fire which will drive the energy for our meditation. Yoga is a very practical toolbox of skills to help us clear the house, untangle the knots. So that's lots of different imagery. Trying to make this space as clear as possible so we can rest and do higher practice. And I need that. I'm not a yogi who can just sit down and be in the meditative state. I need this work to help prepare me for practice. Wonderful. So we're ready. We're going to move into our next practice. Just take my glasses. So we're going to be working Surya Bhedana. So this is our solar cycle. This is half of Nadi Shuddhi, if you've practiced Nadi Shuddhi with me before. So we're simply going to inhale through the right nostril and exhale left. Inhale right, exhale left, inhale right, exhale left. And we just keep repeating that. There is a visualization that we're going to use with this, and this is that there is a burning sun behind the navel towards the back of the body, so just in front of the spine, with as much detail as you can. If you can add solar flares and that lovely mottled surface, then do. And the breath we use for this is the double up breath. So that's what we're going to do first. So firstly, we inhale, inflating the belly, then the sternum, then the upper chest, and then we draw the belly in, forcing the air up, and then the sternum, and then finally the upper chest. So inhaling, inflating from the bottom to the top, and then exhaling, expelling air from the bottom. Keep the chest lifted, and finally expelling air from the chest. So this is the double up wave. It is tricky, it's not for everyone, so depending on whether we're chest breathers, tummy breathers, whether we have restrictions around the lungs, so be mindful with your body. If it doesn't work for you, if you feel like you're stuck just in the belly, take a natural breath. We don't want to do anything that's going to add tension to the body. We want to be adding openness and flow. So if you can, we're going to come in, let's just try a few rounds of this double up breath. And something that will help is to have the lower belly engaged just about 30%. It's a very light touch, and this will allow you to fill up higher, because otherwise you fill up low down, and then there's all this pressure pulling the lungs down, and you can't fill them up. So a light engagement on the lower belly. So we'll just have a minute or so coming into the double up breath. You can use the Ujjayi if you wish. It gives you something to work against. And also Mula Bandha is on 30%. So this is pelvic floor. If you don't work with that or haven't worked with that yet, then just leave it out. It might be too much to add all at once. So we've been fanning the flames of the fire, stoking it up in the lower belly. And now we're starting to try and use it to direct energy up. So we're going to further heat the body by taking Surya Bhedana. So index and middle finger between the eyebrows. We use the ring finger to close the left nostril. And we inhale through the right nostril, visualizing the sun, double up breath if you can manage. Close the right nostril, exhale left. Inhale right. And exhale left. And that's the practice. So we're simply going to continue this. I'll just every so often give you reminders, different things to bring back in if they've dropped out. And just to say, if you find this, you get too hot, you can switch to alternate nostrils, Nadi Shuddhi, so in left, out right, in right, out left. To help cool the body, you also have the tongue or the teeth. Reminder that a light engagement on the lower belly, drawing it in, will actually help you take a fuller breath into the chest if that's something you struggle with. Double up breath, and bandha's on, so Mula Bandha, and that's Uddiyana Bandha is the lower belly we were talking about, and then a light touch on the Ujjayi in the throat. There's the visualization in the belly. A reminder for the bandhas, the visualization, the double up breath. And you also have tools to balance and cool if it goes too far. And this can be physical heat, it can be emotional heat. The mind could become scattered and distracted. So these are all things you can manage. You can control them with practice. And this does take time, to have the confidence to know what to do when. But just try different things. This is how we learn. By falling off our bike 20 times, we learn to ride it. And just a reminder, taking an inquisitive approach to this practice. So I can be quite a stern, quite a serious practitioner, quite pious. So bringing the lightness in. A reminder, bandhas gently on. So that's the lower bandhas, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. Double up breath, visualization if you can, and the alternate nostrils. And we have another couple of minutes. And remembering you can rest when you need. You can also switch arms. So sometimes our arms can ache and we don't want anything to detract from the practice. So if an achy shoulder is taking all of your awareness to it, switch the arm. So often in India they'll do this for a number of hours and they'll have a little stick under their elbow so that they can remain still, body, mind, energy, body, breath. So don't worry, if you know about Surya Bhedana, about solar aggravations, we will do plenty of practice after this that will bring us back into alignment. But at the moment, we're moving ourselves to a certain point, climbing up the hill, and then we'll find our way back down. Complete the round you're on, so always ending with a left exhale, and then we're going to rest the right hand down. For a moment, we're going to drop the double up breath, so we're just going to come back to our regular breathing pattern, and we'll come through the inquiries. So we'll check in with our physical body. and the mind. And the breath. And then the energetic body. Wonderful. And we're just going to have a few minutes here resting. So, like we said, building blocks. We've had Bhastrika, Kapalbhati, and now Surya Bhedana, or whatever process you went through if you had to shift and change. And this clearing, this space that we're opening up, it's as crisp as the nada sound, that whistle. It's unplaceable almost. We're looking for that clear space. And again, just a reminder, things will come up. I get quite emotional through these practices. And our job is just to hold them in our body without adding story. It's the story often that takes us away, once the mind gets involved. Because the sensations, the feelings themselves, the body can hold. The body is in a way manifesting them, It's in this physiology that it is. And it feels so wonderful to be giving these practices this time and space this morning. Often we race through them so quickly. The benefits are lost. So cultivating this resilience, this vast, settled space that we can meet the challenges of life, challenges of past life. Wonderful. So our final practice this morning, this is going to be our meditation, and we're going to add to it as we go over the weeks. But very simply, coming into the embodied breath. So I'll talk you through it this morning. So we start with watching the rise and fall of the chest and the tummy. So working very much with the mechanics, the physicality of the breath. So these are my instructions, how I feel it in my body, but you go to your body and feel, how does your body move? So starting chest and tummy. As we inhale, the pelvis rocks forward slightly. Back as we exhale, and the tailbone dips down, and out of which there's this gentle sway starting at the sacrum all the way up the spine to the occiput, which causes the heart to lift forwards as we inhale, drop back as we exhale. And the shoulders are involved there, it's all attached. And the chin gently nods. And the weight shifts towards the knees and the hands if you're seated like me, and then back towards the seat. So we want slow, even breath, this beautiful organic movement of the body. Our meditation postures can feel quite rigid at times. And that for me loses some of the humanity, This is a human practice developed in human bodies. Wonderful. So everything we add now, we're going to place within this landscape, within this field of awareness. So if you know this practice with me, try not to race ahead. Let's stay together and just keep it nice and simple so that we can really explore what we've opened up this morning, where we're at. So the practice we're going to begin with is, as we inhale, we look for this sense of lift in the body. You'll see the body undulates around it. And as we exhale, there's a flowing down, there's a softening, and the body releases. Inhale, there's a sense of lift. Exhale, there's a softening. So now we're using the breath to communicate from the gross body, the physical body, to the energetic body. The breath is the bridge. Through this practice, we're trying to bring everything into one being. So no longer are we body, mind, breath, energy, body. We are simply one integrated organism. So inhale, there's a sense of lift. Exhale, softening. And now we're going to bring the spine into it and a visualization of the breath. So we inhale, we're going to send the breath all the way down the length of the spine, so attending just to the spine, so all the way from the occiput to the tip of the tailbone. So as we inhale, the breath goes down, but there's this lift in the opposite direction, uplift in the body. As we exhale, we're going to send the breath back up the spine, and the flowing down is still happening. So inhale, we send the breath down the spine, sense of lift. Exhale, send the breath up the spine, and there's a flowing down in the body without losing the detail of the embodied breath. So someone described this as thinking like a lift that carries people between floors of a building. It has a counterweight. And that's exactly what's happening here. The breath is counterweight to the subtle energy of the body. And that's it. That's going to be our practice this morning. That's our meditation. We'll do this for some time and then again have a period, a few minutes of resting in the space. And if you're a seasoned practitioner and you wish to bring the bandhas in, you can have a 30% engagement of Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, but we're going to leave out the Ujjayi, so no throat seal. And again, just with interest, look, see how to bring in these bandhas in lightly. How do they affect the practice? They will have an effect, maybe different for you than me. And I'll just go through the breath once more in case you got lost. So inhaling, sending the breath down the length of the spine. Exhaling up. As we inhale down the spine, there's the natural upflow in the body. And exhaling, there's a natural downflow in the body as the breath travels up. And don't get distressed if you don't really feel this. The practice is trying and eventually it becomes experiential. That's why we call it practice and why we repeat so much. Because it takes time, they say many lifetimes. And just a reminder about the embodied nature of your breath. So we're trying to avoid becoming kind of daydreamy meditators. The body is in this very gentle flux as you inhale, exhale, not rigid on our cushions. Wonderful. So we're going to drop all of those techniques now, all of the visualizations, and simply sit. So you can walk yourself through the inquiries if you wish. It's not necessary. And we can just sit in this open space and see what happens. Who knows what will happen? But just see what happens in this place we've created. Wonderful. So we're just going to take a few rounds of Nadi Shuddhi just to make sure we're not leaving with extrasolar aggravation. So we take the index and middle finger between the eyebrows, closing the right nostril. We're going to inhale left, and you don't have to do the double up breath now if you don't wish. And we're going to exhale right. Inhaling right. And exhale left. So keep this going so it's in left, out right, in right, out left. And I'm going to just give you one more visualization. So for the in right, out left, the Surya Bhedana, we have the sun in the belly. And the Chando Vedana, which is in left out right, is the lunar cycle. And we visualize the full moon above the soft palate in the skull. And again, you don't have to work with the visualization. It takes time. So this is a cooling and balancing breath. So if ever you feel agitated, this is really wonderful to bring you back down. But often the challenge when we're agitated is actually even remembering that we have tools. We'll take one more full round, so in, left, out, right. Always ending with a left exhale. And then resting your hand down. A few slightly deeper breaths. And we're going to open our eyes, something I don't often do in these practice, and trying to hold a panoramic view of everything we can see from back here. So letting this body, this space meet that, the outside world. Maybe starting to see that the edges are actually blurred between the two of us. Wonderful. And bringing our hands to prayer heart center, we'll seal our practice with 3 yawns. Deep inhale. And we raise our thumb, knuckles to third eye center. And we bow to one another and say namaste. Thank you for coming this morning. Thank you for our practice. That felt like such